Hey everybody, this is John Eric Bentley, the voice of Barrett Wallace from Final Fantasy VII, the remake, so many other projects, and more importantly, you are listening to Hawaii's #1 podcast, the Kasanova Podcast. Yeah.
This wasn't written with your comfort in mind. Nah. Made my decision, wasn't tough to decide. Nah. Me and my boys, we get it done every time. Gotta earn it, you can't just jump in the line. You'll get rushed to the side. I top my division, I've been building since I started. In the parking lot, I parked it. I came in while picking targets. My career cannot be tarnished. I'm a champion regardless. Celebrate, but this is a different kind of lucha party. We are not alike.
That's the vibe. Now we can talk about it, man. I mean, that's the vibe, you know? You wake up in the morning and you say, what are we going to do today? Because you have the money and you have the freedom and you have the passive income to do that. And that's what we're going for. That's what we're seeking after. But if you think that spending, hours on social media bickering at people back and forth is going to give you the results that you're looking for, I'm sorry, it's not, and I think that's what we're talking about, man.
Yeah, it's something that I'm being rude. Okay.
Nah, man, listen, man. We chilling, bro. We chilling.
But welcome everyone to another episode of the Kasanova Podcast. I'm your host, Mikhail Kasanova. I'm joined by my brother, the one and only AndrewAlliance of the Show Radio Podcast, who's been doing major things. Been blessed, man. I've been enjoying seeing the growth and the blessings come through, man. The major opportunities and just all the hard work just paying out. But go ahead, introduce yourself, plug, and then we can get back to chopping it up.
Yeah, I think the main plug for me right now is education, right? So my name is Andrew. I've been in the crypto space for the last half a year. I've been in the gaming space since 2009. So my main thing is just definitely hit me up on IG. I have some resources there for crypto education. I'm definitely pushing that more than ever now because of where we are in the world, right? Yeah. Finding different ways to, as we were talking about, make money, invest, right? Keep the money that we're making. And then on top of that, build passive income, with the YouTube stuff. So, I mean, we can kick it. We can kick it for a little bit, man. I'm just excited to be here again. Thank you for the opportunity to come chop it up for a little bit and just, talk about real stuff, man. I can't really do the stuff that people spend their time on social media that doesn't provide value to anybody. I think for me, as we're getting older and now you're a father, and all the things that we have to consider. So definitely congratulations and blessings to you and your family for that, bro. I mean, we have to talk about serious things, money moves, legacy, passive income. And I think that many of us, depending on how we grew up, we weren't necessarily talking about money all the time with our family members because it was a subject matter that was very, it was very like under the cover. You didn't talk about money growing up, or even in the educational system, depending on your demographic, you didn't get that education. You probably learned one day out of the 12 years of going through the main school years, right? Of what money is supposed to be. And you find out later on that it's not any of that,
I tell you, I was not taught anything about money. Wasn't taught about finances, saving,
right,
investing, nothing. It's like, just, get a job that pays well.
Exactly. Exactly. And then so you think about that, and then you think about people who still believe that playing a game is a bad thing because they look at it, you're playing a game all day. But if the person's playing a game all day and they're an entrepreneur and they're getting money on those streams, those live streams, then some individuals even now haven't caught up to what these industries are, whether it's the gaming industry, the crypto industry, or just even investing period, and what they offer for the individuals who are coming into the space for the first time. So there's a learning curve for individuals who are stuck in their old ways on how they think that gaming, you're still playing that Nintendo and they're still calling it Nintendo, right? Versus trying to catch up with the fact that we have individuals who are becoming entrepreneurs overnight because they turn on a Twitch or they turn on a YouTube and people are loving their content and they're throwing money at them because they love their content. So there's I mean, there's lots to unpack, but let's just chop it up for a little bit, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's like another perfect example. Like, I don't know if you saw Pokimane. She's now the CEO of that, or CEO of the company and co-owner of a company, and now she's part of co-owning Evo with Sony, and
Yeah.
she started off on Twitch, and it's
Right.
like this idea, and I run into it a lot, like even more so now. People are like, "Oh, you're just playing games, you just, you're not doing anything serious." And I'm over here like, you don't understand how this works,
Right.
and you've seen how I've changed over the years. Before I used to be
Well,
like,
you had to,
I
man.
had
You know what I'm
to.
saying? Because I was trying to tell you, like, let's make these adjustments. I'm gonna be nice.
Right.
Let's make these adjustments, because I could see that you were seeking for great things, but depending on how you presented yourself to the world,
Right.
that would limit potential opportunities. So we're playing chess, and that's what
Right.
we were having a conversation a while back. I'm like, bro, we're playing chess. Yes, I love these people. Yes, I have a relationship with certain PR representatives. Yes, those relationships span years, but we are playing chess. We don't get forgiven as Black content creators as other demographics get forgiven for things that they may say crazy or they may do crazy. We don't get the same forgiveness, right? So
Right.
knowing that, you just have to play the game. The game is present yourself in a brandable way that everybody can, receive, and then just have a good time doing it. And then from there, like you said, people are always watching, and then opportunities start opening up.
Yeah. Like, and it gets to a point like where I'm at, like this year, I would say for me has been, I feel like, my best year, in the sense of working with companies, getting to work, with Sony, with Microsoft, with, all these different companies that before it's like I was probably there, but not quite. But like now that I've got this established relationship with these companies, and working again with Victrix has been so long since I worked with Victrix. But
That controller's dope, man. They
did.
got it right. They got it right. They got it
did.
right, and people are sleeping on it because of the price.
They are. Yeah.
So yeah.
But it's like, I had this conversation with Leila the other day where I was talking about how, like, where I'm at now with like rebranding myself, not so much as some people have said that they feel like I'm filtering myself, like, oh, I'm not, you're not the raw edgy person you were before. And I'm like, well, you're right, I'm not. I had a kid. I changed because
Right.
I want to set an example for her, but also at the same time, like, I'm with my, like, my wife started working. She works for the state now, and I'm just at home. I'm between doing content, podcasting, and watching the baby. I'm seeing her grow. I didn't get to do that with my other two kids. Like, it was just like I was at work. I was barely ever home. Me and their moms didn't get along. But this one, I get to see her grow, and I'm like, man, I'm just filled with bliss, just pure happiness. So all this other stuff with, like, people like, oh, we want you to roast this person, or we want you to, want you to comment on this going on social media. I'm like, one, I'm on social media, but I'm not on it for drama. Like, I've filtered my feed to where it's like opportunities that could get lost in all the nonsense.
Correct.
People who I need to be following, things I'm actually interested in. I've had people say, oh, well, when you do reviews, you're only being positive. You don't be critical. I'm like, then you clearly never watched a review I've done or read a review, because I am critical. I have a whole section of what could be wrong, but I have this idea that you can be critical without being disrespectful.
Right.
You can give constructive criticism, and it seems like a lot of people don't get that. Like,
that's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way it's supposed to be. And I think that when so I'll say, do you know how much dirt I have on people since I've been?
I can imagine.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And it's like, but does it matter, right? because what does it serve, right? So you figure I've been around since '09 when I really started like getting stuff, podcasting and stuff like that. So we hit 600 episodes recently. We're kind of like appreciate that. We're kind of like a semi hiatus, give or take, but it took a while to get to that. But at the same time, we noticed that our families, Daniela and I, Miss DJM, that our family dynamics are changing a little bit, but we still love, each other by way of, our partners in the co-hosting space and friends and even family, I would say personally. And we just have to make some adjustments so we can continue to come together and record. So we both kind of like semi vacationing because, life is happening, but at the same time, like we look at the stuff on social media and I'm like, man, it's like you see people like digging themselves in a bad place, right? And it's not like we want to be the OG to like be like, hey, this is what you're doing right, this is what you're doing wrong. Some of the stuff they have to experience for themselves. You can't make someone learn something that they'd rather have, personal experiences with, right? So the whole point of that is when we're watching people basically hurt themselves when they're trying to build their brand in the industry, we just have to grab a popcorn and watch. We don't want to do that, but we have to, you know what I mean? Because no matter how many DMs you send them or how many phone calls, or even if you show up in their own personal live stream and try to like give them some advice, that whole dynamic of you showing in somebody's live stream to give them advice never really works, right? Because they're the owner of the entertainment that's happening in that space, and you popping up in a chat trying to tell them what they should or shouldn't do or whatever doesn't necessarily pan out well all the time, right? So what's the balance? The balance is you watch, and if they give you an entryway to have those conversations, then you can have those conversations, right? So, but yeah, man, I think for me is I have a lot to say about a lot of things, but and as you and I are learning, it doesn't serve us to address every single challenge that happens on social. And when I say social, I'm talking about Instagram, Twitter, like those platforms. I'm not talking about where we work, which is YouTube. I'm not really talking about that. I'm talking about like the tweets, the retweets, the subtweets, those things. It doesn't serve us at this stage of the game, right? To address those things, because now you got to carry that energy, and then somebody can hit you up in the DMs and say some pleasantries that are not pleasantries, right? So they start cursing you out, right? And the DMs, and then you have to deal with Discord challenges. I don't think you know anything about that. Okay. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I'm just joking, but I know you do, right? Then you have to deal with YouTube stuff, right? And then YouTube is where you make your bread. That's where we make our bread. And it's a blessing that we're able to make money this way. But at the same time, we have to be mindful of those things. It's not that you're weak or you're chickening out and stuff like that. It's that I'm minding my business so I could provide what I need to provide for my family, right? This for you and me is income that is going to bless our family in some way. Even if it's like a dinner, on a Saturday, you're going to mess up me being able to do that because you want to talk slick and you want to talk about what I do, what kind of content. Oh, he's not creating only gaming content anymore. Now he's creating crypto content. That's not your business. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? We have to put things in perspective, because nobody's sending me a big check to take care of my family on a regular basis, nor are they sending you one, right? And I think that's where we have to be honest about. Oh, okay, now they're monetizing their content. What do you think is supposed to happen after a decade or two? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think people actually like really think about what they're saying. So you chose to do a 9-to-5 only. You chose. You chose to stay at YouTube. Has been around what, 07, 08, give or take, 2007? Okay, so you chose, right? To do a 9-to-5 only. You chose to do night shifts. You chose. I didn't choose that for you, right? And that's the real talk. People don't want to hear that, right? You chose to do overnights, right? I chose to use portion of that time, lose some sleep, and do YouTube, right? You chose not to live stream. I chose to live stream when I can, and I will when I can, right? You chose that, not me. You know what I'm saying? And I think that we have to get back to that. We have to get back to that. You know, my money is not your money. My family is not your family. And I think that you can't really go off, you know, like your guests can for you, because they don't understand, you know, because a lot of the people that we're dealing with right now are anywhere between what, 22 and 27, give or take.
Roughly.
Right?
Yeah.
Roughly, right?
Mm-hmm.
No kids.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time. Not married.
Talk to them.
You know what I mean? Not married, right?
Yep.
Okay. So no major responsibilities. So if they're in a streaming house, no responsibilities. Sponsored by this, that, and the other, living your best life. We don't have those opportunities, and congratulations that you have them. We're building what we're building for ourselves, right? And I think that that's where I am, right? So whether it's, you know, crypto stuff, gaming stuff, you know, live stream, Halo's dope, right? The controller we just got from Victrix, that's dope. You know, I see you doing a lot of King of Fighters stuff. That's fantastic. You know, just celebrate the people who are doing what they love. Like, you love finding content a lot, which is why there's a lot of finding content on your channel. That just makes sense to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you love the mechanics of the FGC. I do too, but not enough to create content about it right now. You see what I'm saying? So you are just as valuable for me, because when I need to kind of like know what's happening in that industry, I could just click on one of your videos and be like, oh, so this is what they're talking about, the mechanics and stuff like that. Okay, so Mikkel just covered this and that. Oh, so that's the trailer. Oh, so that's the next character coming out. Oh, okay, I didn't realize that, right? So you're not my enemy.
Right.
You're not my competition. You see what I'm saying? So I think that once we get past the fact that it's not about subscribers, it's not about who has the most subscribers or whatever, right? Because if you really understood YouTube, not you personally, we're just having a conversation. If they really understood YouTube, they would know it's not even about subscribers. Yeah. Because you got to tell them. Can we tell them a secret?
Go for it.
Can we tell them a secret? You know, I love and you love the subscribers.
Yeah.
But most of them don't watch the content. Okay?
Yeah.
That's the secret. That's a fact. Okay? We love the subscribers. So 2% of 1,000, 2% of 10,000, 2% of 20,000, right? If that 2%, once you hit publish and they watch your video, that's beautiful, right? But it's only 2% of your 12,000 subscribers. It's only 2% of my 2,800 right now. Okay? It's only 2%. So not everybody watches who subscribes to the channel. And you can just go to them, whether you go to Roberto Blake, you know, all the stat, you know, breakdown people, they'll tell you the percentage of people that's watching your content are individuals who are searching and they find it and they click play. Those are the people. So now if you know that, then your content metadata should be like, you know, A+. You should be getting an A every time your metadata is on a video, because if you know that your subscribers are not watching it and you want to make sure that people watch it, your metadata has to be fantastic, right? So I think that that's where we are. That's where we are. These are the facts. YouTube is still a great opportunity for those who are considering it. And then, yeah, let me slow down for a second. Let me slow down. What's up, man? let me slow down. Slow down. So that's where we are.
No, and it's so true, because even when you go to like the channels with the hundreds of thousands of subscribers, or even millions, they'll even have at the beginning of their video when they're asking you to subscribe, saying, "Hey, only a portion of X amount of people who are subscribed are watching my content. So ding the notification or sub to the channel, blah blah blah," because it's affecting everybody. And so this idea that so many people have And you know, I keep getting hit with it like, hey, you should just do this. You should just do gaming. I don't like that you're doing, you know, tech. I don't like that you're doing fighting games. I don't like that you're doing. I'm like, I don't care. I'm a content creator. I create content. If I'm making content I have no care for, then it's soulless. I might as well go back to a 9 to 5. Like it's just, and I think that really hit me within the last year and a half. Is like I want to make content that I care about. I want to put the me, well, you know, the you back in YouTube. Like I want it to be my creativity plus my professionalism. I don't want to just be someone who's like, I'm just gonna say it. I don't want to be a tabloid creator. Like you know, I'm just making whatever. It's just, you know, take a rumor like, oh, the Switch Pro. You saw how that went.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't want to make that kind of content where I'm just doing it just for the clicks, but I'm getting no personal satisfaction out of it. But I also do want to make content that is kind of relevant, that puts bread on the table. Like me, I started doing the King of Fighters stuff and fighting games in general. I started more so heavily covering that this year because on a whim.
But you've been waiting for the game though, like you said. You've been waiting for the game for a long time, so it just made sense to start, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like when I did that and then I saw the reaction was positive and I did a couple more, I was like, oh, so people actually like that. So I was like, okay, so I'm passionate about it. People like it. That's a win-win. Then I started doing more tech stuff, you know, the monitors, the laptops, and stuff like that. And the countless headphones and stuff like, and people like that and keep coming back to me like, hey, how is it holding up? Or hey,
Right.
how's your chair doing? You know, and I'm like, okay, I can dig that. It takes me longer to do those just because we're not like
Of the
the
tech,
big,
right.
right?
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
like we're not like these big tech channels that have whole teams. Like I know some folks that are creators that have whole teams and they stress out because, you know, oh, my video is a minute late. I'm like, yo, I'm trying to get the panoramics, you know,
Right,
the
right. The
angles,
slow motion shots, you
right?
know, you looking at the phone or typing on the laptop, and you know what I'm saying? All those shots,
Right.
it's tough with just one person.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like I like making that kind of content. It's fun and you know, I like doing video game stuff too. Like, but some people are mad and some of the people that were in my community. Yeah, I don't even really focus on community or Discord anymore, just because I'm like, I don't have the time. Like, it's just
I think you should. I think you should. So I'll give a little pushback on that because
okay,
if
okay,
there's a way that at least either okay, so I'll say this. So not necessarily a pushback, just some additional thoughts, right? So in
okay,
Discord, if you publish a video, there's a way where you can have that video announce in your Discord, right?
right,
So
right,
that way, so little things like that could be a major impact of individuals who are waiting for new content. So if they don't necessarily subscribe to your YouTube channel, but they're in the Discord, they can still get the notification that the video's out, and that could still be a velocity for you on that video because they're in the Discord. So even I've thought about, the reason I say this is because I've thought about deleting the Discord if I need it or not, whatever. But there's still individuals who actually go in there because they want to hear, you know, maybe like how your day is going, or they want to post a link to an article that may add value to you as you're creating
hmm
content. So in those scenarios, I think there's still value there because and I know for me in the last maybe month or so, I've benefited from being in a crypto community, and that crypto community pretty much helped my channel gain 1,000 subscribers in the last 20 days, right?
hmm
So there's value in the community that believes in your content and they're willing to support. So I think that's so it's not necessarily pushback, it's just you know, just food for thought, really.
No, that's very valuable. I wish I had. So a lot of the people that are in my community that are really supportive, I mainly just talk to them directly through DM. Like a lot of them I'll talk to every day. It's the others, like in the sense of like with my Discord community, because I've gone through like, I think I've purged my Discord group like 3 or 4 times because one was drama, the other was YouTube drama. Then
I remember.
one was right, and then one was like drama between people in the group that had nothing to do with me, and I got dragged into it, and I'm like, nah, just I'm done with it. But where it is now, it's not that active, except for in like the tech section and the KOF one, and I'm very active there. But like everything else, like it's people entertaining themselves. That's actually another value that I've actually. Now that I'm thinking about what you're saying, because I have some people that just go there just to talk to other people, and they're just going back and forth, and I don't have to interact on that because like I have a section where people are really into like Genshin Impact. I don't, and not that I hate the game or I dislike it. It's just I don't have the time to invest into it. Like I don't even do Final Fantasy 14 anymore, just because it's a time sink that I don't have. But they are enjoying it. They're talking to each other. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like, that's do your thing. But as far as like you're saying, like the crypto community and how like they helped you, like I'm seeing that a lot with like the KOF community. I've seen like my growth has really come from that. The tech community, really getting behind me on that. Where I'm like, I wasn't sure if I would get support on that, but like my regular gaming content, a lot of people are like, well, you don't get a lot of views on your gaming reviews or whatever. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. I still have an obligation upon getting a free product. Free, you still have to have a deliverable.
Right.
And
the exchange is a deliverable. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't get that. Like they're like, oh, well, if the game's not good, like I got a lot of backlash. This is the tea talk here. I got a lot of backlash for reviewing Call of Duty Vanguard because of the whole Activision situation. And I had some people say I should not cover it because I should be in solidarity with the protests against the company. I'm like, I don't agree with what happened to those individuals. Like, I think people should respect women. That's not a question. But there are also people who do work at the company,
right,
that are good people who have nothing to do with
this situation, right? And I think that's a sensitive, and I think that I do not necessarily engage in those matters because it's a loaded clip, right? Before you even go in, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, do I, or it's tough, right? So I do have the game. I do love it. I do play it, right? And I think that those conversations, I think that if everybody's going to be fair in how they're having the conversation, I'm willing to entertain it. But if you're already biased in a particular way with that situation, then it makes the conversation tough to have. Even what we were talking about before, it's like we're creating content, we're pivoting, and one of the things that I think you did, I believe you did, was brilliant, is naming the channel your name. So whatever pivot you decide to do, if you decide to go knitting next year, you can make that pivot because you just might. You know what I'm saying? Right? But because your name is your name, you don't have to necessarily change the name of the channel to make those pivots, right? And I think that's the beauty of having your name as a channel when you're making adjustments. The Call of Duty situation is an important situation, and it's sad for people to have to go through stuff like that, where some environments can be cultic, and you fear every day that you have to go to work in a particular environment, not knowing what's going to happen next. Nobody wants to live like that. Nobody wants to go to work like that. Nobody wants to go to a church like that. Nobody wants to go to any environment that you don't necessarily feel safe, and you fear for any movement that you do that you're walking on eggshells. And no content creator wants to feel that, eggshell stuff either, as they're trying to be very objective to cover a game, right? That they play every year. They might, right? Somebody has to cover the game, right?
Right.
But what do you do? So it's an interesting conversation to have. And I think that in most of the things that are happening personally in my life, and even when I look at the gaming space or even the crypto space, I try to remain objective, and at times I may not give as much grace as I should have, But in terms of like how I feel about it, when I go to sleep at night, whether I decide to cut people off or make a decision in that regard, it's always the best decision for me and my family.
Right. Well, and that's really like where it has to be. You know, like for me with covering Call of Duty, like people want me to make statements or they're like, oh, if you're going to cover, then you need to make a statement within your video, your review. I'm like, no, I'm talking about the game. That's it. That's it. As a reviewer who, you know, what if Tom, Dick, and Harry, whoever, go to a GameStop or Walmart and they're like, hey, is this game good? They just want to find a review. They may not know all the other stuff going on because
They don't.
I don't feel, and I don't feel like if it's in court, which is what that's being in court, let that play out.
Right. Exactly.
That, you know, that's my thoughts.
But notice the PR team made sure that as the game was releasing, they almost separated, you know, Activision from the devs that were working on the game. So they didn't necessarily have that pressure of what was happening with the case and as the developers were trying to release the game. All the branding that was related to Activision, they were almost gone from Call of Duty Vanguard, right? They almost disappeared. And there's just different things that you have to do to make sure that the product still gets out. I mean, if it's for the benefit of the devs or for the benefit of the company as a whole, you just have to do what you have to do, right? So people are still playing the game. And I think that, yes, with that whole situation with Activision did put a cloud on the, you know, ramping up to the release of the game. But if folks turn it on right now and they jump in, their heart rate is going to go up, right? It is still a twitchy, you know, fast paced, good, you know, core experience when it comes to team deathmatch and Call of Duty. And they've perfected that. And of course, we got to give props to Halo too, because Halo set, you know, amazing trends and the precedent for a lot of the games that we enjoy today that are multiplayer, lobby based and stuff like that. So give people credit where they need to get credit. Pray for the people that are hurting, right? And these companies, you know, hopefully that they bounce back really quick, get jobs and different, you know, gaming companies or other, you know, things that they want to do, start their own projects, you know, their own, you know, YouTube or whatever the case might be. But yeah, it's about, you know, legacy, family, and just making sure everybody's okay, man.
Yeah. But one other thing I want to touch on is we mentioned it. You mentioned it at the beginning of the podcast, and it was about you know, other creators aren't your competition. That is something that is so missed by so many creators. And it's
right.
It is.
I'm gonna say one thing. I'm gonna give it back to you. Do I look at stats? Do I look at stats of other creators and say, well, do I compare sometimes? Absolutely, but they're not my competition. But go ahead.
No, I do the same thing. So it's an interesting scenario. So, as you know, I just got the Xbox, right? That Halo one. And apparently, some creators feel that I bought the Xbox and I'm just promoting that it was given to me. And apparently, they're pushing this narrative with everything that I've, including my partnership with AVerMedia. And it's funny to me because I'm like looking at them and I look at their social media and it's always like taking digs at somebody else. And it's interesting because it's like you could do more.
Right.
If you would get out of your own way.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm a company and you, let's say you put out a tweet that got good traction or a review that got good traction, and we're just interested, or we're looking for new people because like you and I, we know a lot of people in the PR. They're always looking for someone new.
Always.
If I see something positive and I'm checking out because you gotta to make sure people aren't, they gotta be safe. You going and you checking out the content or their posts, and if it's all bashing negative, you shoot yourself in the foot.
So there's a bigger issue, right? And the bigger issue is that we have access to all these tools, right? We have DaVinci Resolve, we have Libsyn, we have YouTube, we have StreamYard. We're doing the show on StreamYard right now. We have all these different tools, and then corresponding with PR and things like that. Most of the individuals who are starting in the space, they're not media trained, right? The media training comes from, for me, it came from like making bad decisions when I started out to understanding how the game was played later on, many years later. That's where my media training came from. Yeah, you go to events. Yeah, you greet the PR people. You get the cards. You say, thank you for, showing up at the event. And then from going there, then you start building a relationship. Hey, if there's anything that you have coming out, would love to collaborate with you and promoting those things, because their job is to make sure that people are talking about their stuff and it gets the word out for their stuff, right? Their job is not to give you something free for you to say, hey, I got something free. That's not their job. Their job is for you to get the thing that they sent you, and the exchange is your deliverables, as you were saying before, a little bit earlier, for that thing, because you have a YouTube channel, and then that video can go from here all the way to, Seoul and South Korea, right? That's your job. They got their job, right? So they're sending you something of value, whether it's, $300, $400, $500 of value, maybe $1,500, depending on, because, you big now, you're getting laptops and you're getting all the fancy stuff, right? So they'll send you something of value, right? And you have to deliver value also. So it's an exchange of value. But when individuals who aren't media trained, they come in thinking that because I have a channel that is successful, you should throw anything at me that I ask you for, and that's it. I'm entitled to get your thing so I can talk about it. That's not how it works. So the bigger issue at times is that most individuals aren't media trained, right? I'm not media trained. I learned, by experience throughout the years of how the interaction is supposed to happen, right? And then you navigate those conversations when you're on a podcast like this. You don't talk about companies that could potentially help you in the future. That doesn't make sense. Why would you do that? Right? So you're shooting yourself in the foot on a platform because, and that's the other thing too, is the discretion level of the individuals coming into the space. And that's not everybody, right? I'm not talking about people who do have discretion, right? There's more a conversation of the people who believe that companies should send them everything because they have a podcast, they have a YouTube channel, they have a Twitch, right? And their name is out there a little bit. So because of that, companies should just throw stuff at them. Some companies won't because of your attitude, right? Because your attitude is not in such where it's brandable for that company to be comfortable to send you stuff at any point of the year, right? So you want to get to a place where you kind of understand like the back and forth between you and the company to get to a place where they are sending you stuff for the exchange value, and then definitely make sure you provide that value on the other side too. And the value is not always a review.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, right? It could be an interview that they wanted to have that you were able to provide because you had the platform, right? It could be a preview and an interview, right? It could be a blog post because you're a better writer than me, right? It's something that you're exchanging. And I think that once you get there, it doesn't matter what content you put on the YouTube channel. that PR from another industry will recognize that you're doing it right, and they'll offer you an opportunity, and it's not even something you're talking about during that time, right? So it's all about optics, right?
Yep.
How are you going to make the company look, right? And what's the value exchange, and can they trust you?
Yeah.
Right, to deliver that exchange and that value. So I think that that's the bigger issue, is that you have social media, you have your Instagrams, you have your TikToks, you have your Twitter, but a lot of folks don't know how to talk on those platforms, which you
Yeah.
mentioned,
Yeah.
and that's a bigger issue, and that makes it worse for a lot of folks, because if one person from our demographic does something like that, they could look at, well, they're all like that,
Yeah. We've had examples of that within the last year.
and you don't want that.
Yeah, you don't. It, yeah, because it's there are different rules. There are different rules for us, and it's just
And we're not struggling, though. Let's be clear.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
It's different. I agree. I agree with you. There's different rules, because I know people listen to this with different ears, and depending on what's happening in their lives too. We're not struggling by way of how blessed we are in the space. I want to be clear, right?
Yeah.
But it's still swimming uphill at times. That's what we're saying. So I hope, as you're listening to this conversation, watching this conversation later, when you're getting laptops sent to you, like this guy over here, okay, and all the other stuff that he's getting, that's a lot of work in and of itself if you're starting out for the first time, right? So let's just, back up a little. Let's just go 101 real quick, right? If you're starting out for the first time, not every company is just going to throw a laptop at you because, you're Mikhail Kasanova. It doesn't happen, right? So you just have to put things into perspective as you're creating your base and your content. And YouTube is such a big platform that at any point, one of your videos can go from, 100 views to like 5,000, 12,000, 50,000. Any video at any point can blow up based on the interest of that time. So I think it's a numbers game. We're playing that by consistently creating content for whatever we're passionate about at that time. And that passion should translate to the video, not you fabricating that passion for the video, because I love cryptocurrency, right? So you're going to hear the passion about that when I'm talking about that on my YouTube channel. I love Halo. You're going to hear that, right? And other things that we talk about. You love tech. So that passion, King of Fighters. So that passion is going to translate into the content. That's not fabricated, right? Now the thumbnails, we got to play the thumbnail game.
We do.
We got to. I don't care who talks about the thumbnail game. I don't care. Okay? You have to play the game because people are attracted to those thumbnails. Those, right? 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 I don't care. You could talk about it till you're blue in the face. We got to play the thumbnail game because that creates the impression for you to click, for you to get in. And hopefully we're delivering on the other side of that thumbnail, right? Exactly what the thumbnail said. Now, you can have those crazy looking thumbnails, but if it doesn't deliver on the other side, the video is going to be bad in terms of its performance, right? So I think those are the things that we're playing chess, whether it's a thumbnail game, the content game, how long the video is supposed to be, and all those things, CPM versus RPM, right? So we're playing all those things, and we have to look at those metrics to see what's performing better. Because if you have like an outlier video, if one of your video, if all your videos about 1,000 and one video goes crazy and goes 3,500, double down on that 3,500 and create subsets of that, right? So you can get, why are people so focused on that particular 3,500 view video versus the other ones that you were getting 1,000 clicks a piece, like things like that. You play the game, and you'll win.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, like adding on to that, like I've had discussions with people like who watch my videos are like, oh, well, you need to turn off ads. Oh, it's clear that if you got this product that you're paid. And I'm over here like, I don't. I pick and choose my arguments. And 99.9% of the time, I'm not picking arguments anymore. I just don't engage. But just to clear this up, because so people understand, when a company sends you something, they can't pay you to do like monetarily to do a review. If they send you something, you have to do whatever your agreement is. If you do a video, okay, fine. You do a write-up, you do a stream, you do a post on, Instagram, whatever. But you have to, by federal law, disclose that you were given it. You have to. That's why you see something like #ad or this is given, thank you for giving me this. It's because it's required by law. That doesn't mean that your opinion of it is paid. Like I love Razer. I don't have any Razer gear anymore. I got Rocket, got Logitech, but I love Razer. But even though when I had Razer stuff, I was praising it, but I was also still being, I kept it 100. Okay, this could be improved. That could be improved. That could be improved. That's not a paid review. It's not
right.
paid, and it's so interesting when people are like, oh, you're just shilling for this company, you're shilling for that. Like, oh, what was it? The recent Battlefield 2042 came out. I'm a Battlefield vet. I've been playing Battlefield for 20 plus years. And it's like, for me, the new one is Battlefield through and through. It's got its issues, especially at launch, but every Battlefield has had issues at launch. Like, if you follow that series, it's always, but they always patch it out. I mean, Battlefield 4 was a mess at launch and has gone on. There was a resurgence of Battlefield 4 like a couple months ago.
I may have to jump back into Battlefield 4.
Right.
Yeah, that's the that one's the one.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, all these videos coming out for Battlefield 2042, like they're saying is don't buy it. It's terrible. It's awful. And then I put out a positive review, and then all of a sudden I'm a shill. And I'm like, no, I'm talking about this from the perspective of someone who's been playing the series for 20 years. I'm talking about the mechanics. I'm talking about this is what this is. This is pulling from here. Oh, like, okay, this is tied to Battlefield 3 and 4 canonically from the timeline of the narrative. This character comes from there.
Are you mentioning those things at the top? Because I noticed that when we add our experiences at the top of the video, the comments are less toxic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And sometimes we forget to do that because we think that people should already know that because they've been on, like, for example, you may not add the fact that you've been playing Battlefield for like 20 plus years in the intro of the video because you believe that people have been with your content long enough to know that you've been playing it for 20 years, right? And it's almost like, should you throw that in or not throw it in? But if you don't throw it in, the comments are more toxic. You see what I'm saying?
Right,
so it's like, so you almost like got guys say something like, yo, haven't been, playing Battlefield for 20 years. This is like you throw that in there, you kind of slide it in there, right? At the intro. So that way, when the comments come, if you decide to engage in comments, right? We decide when we do that, right? Right? Then you can kind of like, go into that or not go into that. So it's almost like, when do we brag and flex, or, talk about our experiences, and when don't we? You know what I mean? It's a fine line, and I think it's different for every piece of content. Especially how Battlefield, which one? They did Battlefield 1, right?
1, yeah.
And before, 1 was the last one before 2042, right?
5.
5 was, right? And 5 shouldn't be that forgettable, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, but to many, it was because of all the issues that plagued it. Now, that's not our fault. That's whatever happened on that side. I don't know. Okay, I didn't really play 5. I played 4. I played 1942, which was back in Xbox 360 days, which was amazing. Okay.
Yep.
And then now we have 2042, which may be a continuation from 1942 to now, right? More modern and stuff like that.
It's got a mode with every map, bro. And nobody in reviews is talking about that.
Yeah,
I started talking about that, and I was like, I'm geeking out, and I got told, oh yeah, they paid you to talk about it. I'm like, yo, I'm talking about this map from Battlefield Bad Company. How many people nowadays remember that? Bad Company,
Right.
Bad Company 2?
It's
Bruh.
for me, Battlefield has always been a great game. It's just the scale of the maps that kind of turned me off a little bit, because I
Yeah.
feel like I have to get to the action, even though you could drop closer to the action, but I have to get to the action to engage. But
Yeah.
outside of that, that's just my pet peeve, if you will.
Mhm.
The game experience itself is, it inspired the war zones and stuff like that we play now.
Yeah.
If we're honest.
Yeah.
If we're honest. But yeah, I mean, so it's been fun ride, man. I'm just enjoying just creating, losing sleep. But I think that it should, unless you're actually doing what we do,
Mhm.
you will never understand.
Yeah.
Right? Unless you're putting out a show every week or every other week or whatever, unless you're putting out content on a regular basis on YouTube, unless you're doing reviews on a regular basis, right? You'll never understand. I will never understand your job, 9 to 5, 10 to 7, overnights and stuff like that. And you'll never understand the hard work that it does. I don't understand how Steph Curry can shoot threes the way he does, but I can also know
Magic.
that that's what I'm saying, right? But there's hard work that goes into having that kind of range for somebody who's not even like a big guy. He's not a huge muscular guy, but he's shooting threes from the logo in the middle of it doesn't make sense, right? But if you think hard work didn't have anything to do with that, you think we just get on a mic and then just do this thing, it's not realistic. It's not realistic. And I think that as you're watching your creators, as you're watching Mikhail Kasanova, just give him a little bit of grace, because you don't have to get King of Fighters content right now, right? He could just be enjoying his life with his family, but yet it's not his job, right? It's something he loves to do that we have the blessing to get monetization from it, right?
See, that's why I got to get you back on again, because we got to talk about that, because we could talk about people who sub to your Patreon or to become channel members or coffee members who have this idea that they control your content.
Yeah.
They own your content. I know that's a whole conversation.
Yeah,
right
I mean, but I
there.
could speak to it real quick, because I know I got to rap and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I appreciate the conversation, but just don't support if you really don't believe in what we're doing. I mean, let's just be honest. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where I'm at. Like, I can't stand like people who are like, if you really believe in what we're doing, we're not pulling teeth for you to support, right? But yet we know that we have to do the call to actions at the beginning of our video. We have to add, like, hey, maybe watch this video here to get more watch time. We have to create the podcast to make that available for those who are, doing dishes, washing laundry and stuff like that. We do what we have to do for the content that we do. But if you don't believe, nobody's saying that you have to support or leave a comment. There's plenty of YouTube channels that you can leave a comment on, right? So I think that we just have to be honest that I love the trolls. I do. I love when they troll the content, the YouTube comments, because there's only a couple of answers they're going to get from me. Thanks for watching. Okay. Good morning. Good afternoon. I'm serious, man. Good evening. The trolls get nothing from me, right? Your content is trash. This is the worst video tutorial ever. Have a blessed day. Okay. They get nothing from me, right? Which is why maybe that's why I don't get a lot of trolls. But I think that we just have to get to a place, man, where we have fun too. I love having fun with the trolls, man. But they're not going to ruin the next person who's excited about the next video that we're going to put out.
I need to do that. I need to do that. That's
Good morning, good evening, good night, bro. You can't. What are you gonna say? I mean, that's where I'm at, man. Just as the scripture says, man. Whether you eat, drink, whatever you do, do it for the glory of God. That's where I'm at, man. I'm just chilling, man.
all right, man. Where can people find you?
Yeah, so the best place right now, I would say, is YouTube, AndrewAlliance. You can find me there. And then I'm actually just trying to change up my IG a little bit at Uriyya, which is URIYYA. So just hit the IG, URIYYA, and all my links will be there as well, man. I appreciate you, man, and definitely blessings to you and your family and everything that you guys got going on.
All right, man. Appreciate it. We got to get you back on again. We'll talk after. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed, make sure if you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, share, subscribe. If you want to leave toxic comments, hey.
Yeah, follow him. Follow him. Get him to 13K, 14, 15K. Follow him. Definitely show him love. He's grinding right now. Show him some love, man.
Man, just doing what we do. But yo, thank you again for coming on, and thank y'all for listening, watching, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I hope it was informative, engaging, and you enjoyed it. And if you did, make sure you go ahead and leave a rating and a review. It greatly helps out the podcast and helps the platforms that we're on go ahead and promote us more so that more people can check it out. And if you're wondering what all platforms we're on, aside from what you've listened to it on, we're available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Pandora, Spotify, Amazon Music, and more. And if you want to support the podcast, then we've got Patreon, so patreon.com/MikhailCasanova, which allows us to continue doing what we're doing. If you're looking for this in video format, we're also available on twitch.tv/MikhailCasanova, as well as youtube.com/MikhailCasanova. So with all that being said, I'll catch you on the next episode of Hawaii's #1 podcast and the #1 podcast in the Pacific, the Kasanova Podcast. You have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one.